good morning or good afternoon for some of you, I guess. I'm going to just walk you through some exam information. So don't check out. I know information's not always the most fun just to sit and listen to, but I want to make sure you're all clear what to expect for your final and kind of some ways to get ready for that. And hopefully I'll be back tomorrow. Fevers that won't quit. So just a few things. First of all, your final is a week from Tuesday at 10:30 a.m. You do not need to be here if you don't have a final during whatever block it is. So I don't actually remember what is the block right before mine, but I can tell you more about that as the week goes on. But we are going to just kind of talk through the format of it. So it's going to look just like last semester's final, where part of it is the multiple choice section. There's about 40 of those questions this semester. And then there's like 25 to 30 written questions where it looks more like a normal test. So in that regard, it should feel familiar to you because you've done it very similar to that last semester. And then just a few ways to study, okay? The review worksheet that you're doing for homework that, part of it you did today, that's part of your final. And it's just a great way to study, is to do that review worksheet well. So if you get to a problem on the review worksheet where you're like, I don't know how to do this, don't just skip it, because that doesn't help you get ready for the final. Go back to your notes and take a look at a sample problem that looks like that in your notes, and that should trigger, oh yeah, that's right, I need to square root this, or I need to, whatever the problem is. So think about that, okay? You have all your old tests and quizzes. Study them, go through them, try them again. I always say cover up all your work, just show the problem and try those problems out again. That's usually helpful. And then if you're struggling on one of those tests or one type of question, you can bring that to school the next day and ask me about it. And then maybe the best way for you to study is to make a really good note card. It's a 4x6, okay? I don't recommend that you necessarily start writing on it yet. I think I would make a document in Notability, and as I go through questions with you, I'll say, hey, this is a really great thing to write on your note card. Or, you have all the chapter 10, chapter 11, chapter 12 formulas in those modules in Canvas. So yeah, just using those sets of formulas and making sure those formulas are on your cheat sheet is huge. Also, I always say pack your bag the night before, and I'll try to remind you guys of this like on Friday again, just so you've heard it again. But I've had it nearly every year where someone didn't show up or they show up late and then they're all flustered. So set your alarm. Don't oversleep. This one's at 10:30, so hopefully you have one before me and then you don't have to worry about that part of it. But you just don't want to rush out the door and then have missing things. So make sure you bring pencils, make sure you bring your note card, and your calculator. Okay. If you come without those things, it's a problem. Really, if you come without these two things, that's a problem. The rest of it we can deal with. I can help you with, but note card and calculator. Note card, you can write anything on it, both sides, sample problems, formulas, but it has to be handwritten. Okay. So that's just kind of some general information. I will tell you later in the week what room you're in. I think you're in Hall C, but I don't remember which period is in which room right now, and I don't have that pulled up in front of me. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk you through, you guys did 1 through 9 for today, and these are points on your final, these assignments. So you get 20 points, okay? I don't do a free late for the exam review because it's 4 assignments. It's not a full chapter. So make sure you're doing these on time, completed. Don't skip problems. Don't just say, I don't know. You have access, right? You have quizzes and tests that have questions like this. You have your notes that have questions like this. So go back to your notes, try it. And as long as you tried it, I will give you full credit for it. So, okay, so I'm just going to talk you through how to do the 1 through 9 problems. If you know how to do these, or you like all 9 of them, you were like, I'm good, I've got this, you're welcome to kind of work on the next section of it, or bounce back and forth with me as we go here. I'm not trying to waste your time by making you listen to a video that you already know how to do. But if you struggled on any of these, I'm going to talk you through how to do them. So pay attention. That does not mean start talking if you did know what you're doing, because there are people that are going to need to hear every one of these or hear a good chunk of them. So if you're working, work quietly. If you're with me watching the video, here we go. It says for 1 and 2, the polygons are similar. So we know they're similar. Find the value of each variable. You basically need to figure out what parts correspond. So if you look at your angles here, this angle corresponding to this one, and this angle here corresponding to this one, that means that this B has to correspond to the 10, right? That's between the 2 angles and between the 2 angles. It also means that the A corresponds to the 12. Notice the 12 is touching the double arc and the A is touching the double arc. So you're going to say, you know, A over 12 or B over 10. The number, the scale factor set that we know is the 9 has to correspond then to the 15. So I would just set it up A over 12 equals 9 over 15. And then when you do that, you can cross multiply. Let's see if I can find my calculator here. So 9 times 12 is 108. And that's going to equal 15 times A. So we'll divide by 15. And you get 7.2. Okay, now you'll do the same thing for your B. You'll still use that 9 over 15. Sorry. So 9 over 15 equals, and now for your B, if you went 9 to 15, then you need to go B to 10. So 90 equals 15B. Like this. So divide by 15, and your B value would be 6 then. All right, next one. Same idea. This one's a little better even because everything's laid out in the same position. So that means the Y corresponds to the 12. That means the 4 corresponds to the 6, and so on and so forth. So X to 9, 12 to 18. You can just pick one as your scale factor. I would do the 4 and the 6 instead of the 12 and 18. Yes, 12 and 18 are both good to use too. You could totally use it. They're just bigger numbers, and you're going to get bigger numbers to work with then. So I would do, if we're going to start with X, let's say, I would say X over 9 are the two that correspond, and that has to equal, now don't do 6 over 4. You have to do 4 over 6. If you're going smaller to bigger, then you have to go smaller to bigger all the way through, and then cross multiply that. So 9 times 4 is 36, 6 times X, and then you're going to divide by 6, and X will be a 6 there. Okay. Okay, now 3 through 5, you had to determine if the triangles were similar. And if so, write a similarity statement and name the postular theorem. If not, tell me why not. So if you look here, you have parallel lines. Parallel lines get you alternate interior angles. So angle C and angle B, those would be alternate interiors. And angle A with angle D would be alternate interiors. Now, technically, you know this one too. but we don't need all three. So I always just stick with the alternate interiors there. We don't know any side lengths, so we're not going to be able to come up with a scale factor, but we do know that triangle. So if I say BAE, right, that went from single arc to double arc to triple arc, is similar to, remember these aren't congruent, so you don't do the congruent symbol, you just do the tilde all by itself. And then it's triangle, so single arc, double arc, triple arc would be single arc is C, double arc is D, triple arc is E. And then you say by, that would be AA similarity. If you recall, we did SSS similarity, SAS similarity, and AA similarity. Those are your three options. Okay. Okay, so now look at number 4 then. We would say, we know that we have the right angles here, okay? 5 then would have to correspond to 10, and then 14 would have to correspond to 28. So if you set that up, 5 to 10 would have to equal 14 to 28, which it does. Those both reduce to 1/2. And then we know right angles are congruent, so we know those two angles are congruent. So I can say triangle. Now here's the deal. If I went 1 to 2, I need to do the smaller to the bigger. You don't have to do it that way. You could do 2 to 1 and do the bigger to the smaller. That's fine too. I went smaller to bigger, so I'm going to say triangle WXU is similar to triangle, think about what that would be, UVT, with a scale factor of 1 to 2 by, that would be side angle side similarity. Number 5 is not enough info. Yes, you have congruent angles here and you have congruent sides here, but they didn't tell us any lines were parallel, so we can't find other angles that way. And they didn't mark any other sides, so just not enough info. Number 6, if you're setting it up, the 26 goes with the 13, and then the 30 goes with the 15. So 26 over 13 and 30 over 15, they're both 2 to 1. So we know that they're similar. So we would say, and you have options here, there's different triangles you could set similar. If I say triangle MNL, that could be similar to triangle QOP or QPO. Since 2 of them are the same, you have options. And that would be by SSS similarity with a scale factor of 2 to 1. Okay, now my guess is number 7 was where some of you struggled a little bit, because that's where a lot of people struggled in the actual chapter itself. So we're going to solve for all 3 of these variables. And these are the ones when it's the right angle here, and technically that's a right angle here, and then a right angle here. Those 3 triangles that you see are similar. So these are the ones that I would always draw out for you, which you are welcome to do. Remember, I always did the shorter leg, the longer leg, the hypotenuse, and then the middle triangle, shorter leg, longer leg, hypotenuse, and then the biggest triangle, shorter leg, longer leg, hypotenuse. So if you set this up in the small triangle, your shorter leg is the 3, your longer leg is the Z, and the hypotenuse is the Y. Okay. In the middle size triangle, your shorter leg is the Z, your longer leg is the 12, and your hypotenuse is the X. And then in the biggest triangle, shorter leg is Y, longer leg is X, hypotenuse then is the one that you have to add together, the 12 and the 3 is 15. So this is your setup. Now you got to figure out what corresponds. How can we find a missing piece? Well, if you look at X, okay, X is a hypotenuse. of your middle-sized triangle. Sorry, I was figuring the wrong thing. So x is a hypotenuse here, but it's also a longer leg here. So you're going to go longer leg over longer leg equals hypotenuse over hypotenuse, or vice versa. So if I said longer leg over longer leg, 12 over x, that would have to equal hypotenuse, go back to where you started, over hypotenuse, x over 15. So you get x squared, 12 times 15 is 180, okay? And then you need to square root that. Now, 180 is not a perfect square, so remember we did simplest radical form with these. Let's see, 180, I'm going to say, do you remember this process? 4, 9, 16, 25, all the perfect squares, right? If you want, list all those on your cheat sheet if that's helpful to you. But I think 36 is probably our best bet. Let me see. 180 divided by 36. Yes. So if you do 180 divided by 36, you get 5. So simplify that, and x will be 6 rad 5. Okay. Then look for y. So check out what you have with y. You have a hypotenuse here. You have a shorter leg here. So we're not using the middle triangle. It's going to be shorter leg 3 over shorter leg y equals hypotenuse y over hypotenuse 15. Cross multiply, so y squared is 45, and then take the square root. So this is going to be 9 and 5, which means y would be 3 rad 5. Okay. And then for z, you have a longer leg here, a shorter leg here. So it's going to be z with 12, and then the 3 with this z. So if we set that up, shorter leg 3 over shorter leg z equals longer leg z over longer leg 12, and then cross multiply that. So z squared is 36. Take the square root. So z is 6. Okay. All right, 2 more. This one is the angle bisector setup in a triangle. So when you have an angle bisector, then the 2 that are on the same line are the 2 that will correspond to each other. And then the other 2 sides of your triangles will also correspond to each other. So we're going to say 16 over x equals 20 over 4. And then we'll cross multiply that. So 16 times 4 is 64. So we get 20 times x equals 64. And then you divide by 20 and get 3.2. Okay, so that'll be the value of x. And then number 9, this is another one that typically gets done wrong a fair amount, just because of what you're looking at here. When you have, sorry, popping my back a little bit, parallel lines like this in a triangle, then you set up the corresponding parts, but there's 2 different things going on here. Okay, this is side splitter theorem. These 2 being parallel means that your sides are getting split into proportional pieces. So I can say right now that 12 minus x corresponds to the x plus 3, and that will equal 6 over 4. Okay, that's not usually the one that gets done wrong. So let me talk you through this one, and then I'll talk you through why. Why is often a little trickier. We're just going to cross multiply. So 6 times x plus 3 would be 6x plus 18, right? I'm just multiplying these 2. 6x plus 18 equals, now we're going to multiply 12x minus 4 times 4. So that's going to be 48 minus 4x. We're going to add the 4x. So that's 10x, and then we're going to take away the 18. So that's 30, and then divide by 10. So x is 3. So that one, you know, cross multiply, set it up. Solving for y is a little different, okay? Y is an entire side of the big triangle. 9 is an entire side of the smaller triangle. So you have to think of it kind of like this. I'm just going to redraw for you real fast. The big triangle, okay, if this is y, this side over here is 10, right? That's this whole 4 and 6 together. And then that's going to relate to our smaller triangle, where we have a 4 right here and a 9 right here. Okay, now we can set up those two as proportional. So just be careful with that. When you have the entire side, you have to add those two pieces together. So this is going to be like y over 9 equals 10 over 4. So 4y equals 90, and then divide by 4. Is that 22.5? Yes. So y comes out to 22.5, and that is it. Okay. Lots there, I know. I would, if I were you, make sure you write, you know, these are the things you can do similarity with. If you struggle with any of those, write a sample problem on your cheat sheet. Today you're going to move into some special right triangle stuff. I would definitely put this on your cheat sheet, right? A 45, 45, 90 is L, L, and LRAD 2. The 30, 60, 90. Actually, I feel like most of the time we drew it this way, so we'll go with this. The 30, 60, 90 looks like this, right? That's L, remember this one? LRAD 3, right? And 2L. I would absolutely put those on your cheat sheet. These guys are going to be, not that one, sorry. These ones are going to be the Sohcahtoa ones. Remember Sohcahtoa? I would put that on your cheat sheet. And maybe just set up a problem like that. And then something to remember when you're solving for an angle, remember that's when you use the inverse or the arc, sine, cosine, or tangent. That's the one that like you do sine inverse or cosine inverse or tan inverse. I'll let you figure out which one of those to actually use on that problem. But when you're solving for an angle, you're going to use the inverse. When you're solving for a side length, you'll just use sine, cosine, or tan. Okay. This one will be Pythagorean Theorem. Absolutely write the law of sines and the law of cosines down on your cheat sheet. This is chapter 8, right? All of this stuff. So if you're struggling, go look in your notes on that. But I will give you the rest of the class period to work through that next chunk. I don't actually remember right now how far you go in this one, but it says in Canvas how far you need to go. So just look in your homework how far to go today. I'm just seeing right now, this is not a D. This is a triangle right here. But yeah, have fun with that, and you can have the rest of the class period to work on it. And you don't have to just stop at where today stops. If you want to keep working, I mean, we'll get through this whole thing this week, so there's no trouble working ahead. Help your neighbor out if they're struggling. Work together. It's good for you. And have a great day.